Welcome to This Just In with This Just In. As your host, Justin Core, this is a show where we take a deeper dive into the issues most important to you with the people at the center of those issues, bringing you those stories and let you get to know them a little better. Today, a first-time guest, and the first guest that we've had outside of the newsroom. This is a big one. I don't know how we booked her, but it's the mayor of the great city of Boise, Mayor Lauren McLean. Mayor, thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for being here. I might be laughing the entire time. This just in. It's great to be here. Thank you.
We started with the name and then just built the show from there. So, yeah, first, we ask all of our first-time guests what their entrance music would be. We can't play it because we don't have the rights to any of this. But the question is it the same music that we had and that, no offense, I chose as your entrance music for the 2022 State of the City?
You know, Justin, I have not thought about entrance music since
You
that
don't?
State of the City. That was funny. So that was the Renegades. That was a good
Yes.
one. That was a good one.
It was good, yeah.
And I remember Corey, who did social media, and you, after the State of the City, you were like, how'd you like your entrance music? Like, what are you talking about? I didn't hear my entrance music. I think because I was so in the zone to get ready. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'd probably stick with that. There are a lot of other songs I'd love to say are my entrance songs, but really not fit for public
Fantastic.
consumption. Yeah.
Understood. We get a lot of that as well. Yeah, no, great public speaker, and you were just in the zone that day. It's like, boom, focused, get up there, bang it out. Mayor, another first, you were the first person to actually request to come on the show. A lot of cords down there. Are they in your way? No, it's just a mic.
I'm okay. I just didn't want to knock over anything.
Okay, it's just a microphone. I don't think it's on. I used to work for you. I don't anymore. It was an awesome experience, by the way. Absolutely loved doing it. You're a great boss. Why did you ask to come on this show, the first person to do that, and do you already regret it?
You know, I asked because I heard it was like the preeminent podcast in Boise.
It is.
But now I am regretting it because I hear I'm the first guest not from the newsroom. Like,
So
I don't
you
know
are.
that.
No, it just means that you're the preeminent guest on this streaming show.
Streaming show.
So appreciate that. We're going to talk about some of the major issues facing the city and how you're tackling them in a second. But first, let's talk about you. You were born in Massachusetts and then lived in Texas and upstate New York, yet somehow you have avoided having an accent. How?
This is true. You know, I think my husband, who was my high school sweetheart, would say that when we moved to the little village in upstate New York, I talked funny. I certainly thought they talked funny. But I don't know.
Can you do an upstate? How do people in
No, it's
upstate
just like,
New York?
It just sounds a little nasally. Like, I don't know. Like, it's when I was born in Boston, but like moved to Texas. My dad got a job when I was like 18 months old.
Oh,
so,
okay. So
lived in
barely
Houston.
in Boston,
Lived in Houston. And when he was looking at a new job in Syracuse, people would call. And I could not understand them on the phones. And now I don't hear it in the same way when I go visit my parents.
It's like, hey, kid, your dad there? What?
Yeah.
What? Amazing. I can't do an upstate accent either, apparently. You graduated with honors from Notre Dame, not Notre Dame, but we'll get to that in a second. Got your master's from the Boise State University. We should know the answer. Who are you a bigger fan of, the Broncos or the Fighting Irish?
Everybody's asking because of the big game in October.
Yeah.
Definitely Boise State. Just don't tell my Domer friends. But no, I mean, root for the underdog, root for the home team.
Absolutely.
I am so psyched for this game and for the opportunity that Boise State has on the platform in a beautiful historic stadium. Yeah. Look forward to giving little tours at Notre Dame to Boise folks that are headed over there for the game. I'll have a little gold and blue on, but I'll have a lot of blue and orange on.
Yeah. Absolutely. That makes a ton of sense. And I mean, you got to be psyched that Boise State, here, and a bit of an aside here, that Boise State, the football program, all of the athletics really being on the national stage that they are, it's often an opportunity for people to see Boise, Idaho, who may not have never seen it or understood that it looks like. And they're like, oh my gosh, I thought it was just potato fields. Have that as well. But there's a whole mountain river running right through the city.
Mountain river run through the city. And I love it when they show the games on TV and they pan from the stadium and you see the foothills and our big blue skies. It's a great introduction to our country, to Boise, and an incredible opportunity for Boise State and all of their students, in attracting more and just growing the program.
Yeah. What was it like going to Notre Dame? Really, that's quite a school.
It was. It's all I know, right? Like, so it was cool. Right. I will say, I went to the national championship game with 8 of my 12 girlfriends, who we all met first day of freshman orientation when we were 17 and 18. Wow. You live in the same dorm all 4 years, and we didn't get to pick each other. So we were friends from all walks of life, and we all got back together. And for me, that was the special part of being at Notre Dame and in South Bend, was you're isolated. There's really nothing to do around you.
Really? I didn't know that.
And you make great, great friends for life. And we're all turning 50 right now and finding ways to see each other, to connect our kids together. It's that part is what I think of about Notre Dame, is the connections I made.
Yeah. Well, and you've also had to work probably at maintaining those connections and those relationships. Do you think that's, what part of what makes you a good mayor, maintaining relationships like that?
Girlfriends from when I was a kid.
Well, but just keeping in touch.
Keeping in touch. I would say it was hard when we first graduated, because Scott and I got married like 2 months after we graduated. We moved here pretty much right away, and we couldn't afford to go back to games, to go see friends. We had kids really young, so we were in a different stage of life. So while we all kept in touch, as we've all kind of moved on to new stages of life, it's a little easier to see each other. But we've had when we graduated, we started with an email strand that was just reply all, like back and forth. So for the first year or so, we were just constant. And for the last 5 years, we've had a text thread that has not changed. That it started, I should say, it was 5 years ago. It started late February 2020, and it has not stopped. And in many ways, I'd say COVID and other things have brought us together. Kids going to college, like just different experiences in life. It's been, it's really special to have them as a big part of my life.
Well, you talked about it, moving to Boise and going to Boise State. Was that for your master's?
My graduate degree.
Yeah. Yep. So what attracted you to Boise and Boise State?
So when Scott and I visited Boise, I've told the story before, like we did not expect to move to Boise. And he had an interview, and we're like, free trip. We were young. We were thought we were going somewhere else. And when he was interviewing, I actually went for a run, like along the Greenbelt, up through downtown 8th Street, and then found my way into the foothills. And I just I can still feel it today. I was like, this is the place. Like, I want to live here. And so then I was so grateful that Boise State helped me with introductions and conversations. Scott got a job, and we moved here summer of '98, 3 months after we first visited.
Oh, wow. That's amazing that it sort of got a hold of you that quickly. A little bit more on Scott. You married your high school sweetheart. I also married my high school sweetheart. Did you just always know that he was the one?
I think I'm supposed to say yes.
Not necessarily. With my wife, and people who know me know this, like we went out in high school, and then I had some maturing to do, so we were just friends for like a number of years, and then it was like, you know what, I think she's the love of my life. How was it for y'all?
How did it work for us? We started dating our senior year of high school. He'd been a good friend before that. And then we went to different colleges and kept dating. Like we'd see,
really?
So we'd see each other over breaks. We'd see each other at Christmas. We always went home in the summer instead of going other places, except for 1 year. And so we did that. He'd visit me at Notre Dame. I'd go visit him in Rochester. So, yeah. And then it was our senior year that it was almost like we were like, okay, this is either going to be a thing or it's not going to be a thing.
Right.
And we decided it was a thing.
Yeah. Put up or shut up. Fantastic. Well, I'm glad that he put up. You also spent some time in France. What'd you do there?
Well, I was an exchange student. So
cool.
I was a student. So in high school, I went for a short exchange.
Okay.
But then the girl that I stayed with came to Syracuse and stayed with me. And so it was then, I had so much fun, and I actually just saw her and her family in October, and we've hosted now, all 3 of her kids have come to Boise for 6 to 8 weeks to stay.
That's so awesome.
And friends that have kids the same age have hosted Stephanie's kids. And so it was that quick experience that made me want to go in college. So I went
Gotcha.
for a year in college. And then I was in a different place, but I still saw Stephanie and her family a lot.
Yeah. Did you see Notre Dame before going to Notre Dame? Or after going to Notre Dame?
I guess I did see Notre Dame before going to Notre Dame. I
that?
did. Yeah, I did.
You've seen both pronunciations there. Okay, so no big deal. I was French Student of the Year my senior year at Eagle High School.
I was never French Student of the Year. That would have been, I mean, I don't know if I would have wanted that honor, but kind of cool.
Well, it's more of an albatross now because I can't remember any French.
Can't speak French.
Can you speak any? And what would this just in be en français?
En français, that would be le flash info.
Le-
Flash news. Or you could be really literal, but yes, you could say le flash info.
La flash.
That was a terrible accent, so don't try to say what I said. It was bad. It was bad.
Sounded pretty good to me, but again,
it was bad.
I have learned in this conversation I'm not good at accents. You first started serving the city as a volunteer all the way back in 2001 with the Foothills Open Space Levy campaign. You were successful, but it was a ton of hard, volunteer work, unpaid, right?
Well, I was a paid campaign manager.
Oh, nice.
But I mean, it was practically volunteer work.
Practically volunteer.
And it felt like volunteer work because it felt so good. Yes, 2001, right about now. Actually, we were in the thick of it in 2001. And we had 500 volunteers and donors in a period of 4.5 months that made that campaign work in the midst of a lot of opposition. So I was talking to the council president, Colin Nash, about this a couple weeks ago. I said, oh yeah, the chamber was against us, the business community was against us, conservation groups decided it wasn't something that they necessarily want to be a part of it because nobody believed that we would win. Channel 7 was with us. Yep. The Statesman ended up being with us. But most importantly, sorry, Channel 7, was that the community, we had conversations on front porches. We talked about what this could do and how much we love the hills. Oddly enough, we found that talking about mudslides and washouts was really effective because there'd been a fire probably 10 years beforehand up in the foothills, and then people had experienced mudslides, and we won. But what it taught me was that people love this place, and and that love brings all sorts of different people together, and you can make a difference by rolling up your sleeves and working hard, and that's what Boiseans did in 2001, and have done it many times since, of course. But it was a special time.
Absolutely. So not technically a volunteer, but pretty much a volunteer, getting paid volunteer wages. Why was it so important to you? Again, you had moved to Boise, 3 years before?
Yeah, just 3 years before.
And you're like, man, I got to make sure to secure these foothills really. Again, we've already talked about it, sort of an iconic feature of this city for years to come. Why was it that important to you?
Yeah, it was an interesting time because the people that volunteered for the campaign were a mix. So many of us in the late 90s had come to Boise. It was a period of rapid growth like it is today. And so you had these rooms of people. Some people had always lived in Boise, and then some people had just come to Boise. But the connection of wanting to save the foothills for generations to come brought us all together. And everybody came with it for a different reason. There were people that loved to mountain bike, and these were in the early days of mountain bikes. People that loved just looking at them, that wanted to protect the view shed. For me, they were really special. That was back in the day. We had some trails, but not a lot, more goat trails than trails. And I did spend a lot of time running them with other people. But that's what pulled me into the city, was the open spaces above us and the access we had. And I wanted to be a part of making sure my kids and their kids could enjoy it too.
I should have set the scene earlier, but exactly what did that accomplish?
Oh, yeah. So
no, that's my bad. Sorry.
JustIN.
Yeah, this just in, the point of that conversation.
The Foothills campaign passed a levy that provided $10 million to the city to then set aside or purchase or acquire open space. And we did it in 2001. We did it again in 2015. So the city now has said yes twice. And we've spent almost $20 million now setting aside open space for generations to come. But what's really cool about that first $10 million is we said we think we might be able to get maybe, $15 to $20 million worth of land set aside because people would donate, we get easements, all the things. That first levy ultimately generated close to $40 million worth of property acquisition and access for Boiseans. So it has continued to just grow in investments for the city. And we see now more than ever how important having open space rather than a whole bunch of houses in the foothills matters because of what we're seeing around the country with fires.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And we'll talk more about your history in part 2, but you're already helping us transition smoothly from talking about protecting the foothills to growth. Growth really, I mean, city's been growing as long as I've been here, about 3 decades now. A lot has changed in the past few decades. We're going to talk about how you're sort of preparing for the future and managing that growth. But first, what do you miss about like Boise in the late 90s, early 2000s?
I had a lot more energy and I was a lot younger. So I could cover a lot more trails then, although they didn't exist at the time. No, seriously, Boise in the late 90s was a really special place. There are a couple things that I really loved about it. Tiny town, great access to the river and the hills. But you go downtown and like you knew everybody. And so it was like this little bitty town in a city that I really loved. That you, no matter where you went, you would see people and know who they were, and they would know who you were, and you could just strike up conversations. Even just like a year after Scott and I moved here, that's just how it was. I love that. I really miss Grape Escape, which was, and I loved it because you could sit there on the corner, and I thought this was so cool coming from Syracuse because Syracuse has a hellacious winter, and you could sit on the corner at Grape Escape, enjoy a nice glass of wine under a blanket in February and March, and it was just lovely. And then you know everybody, which was really fun.
Right.
And then I'll say one more thing that I miss about the 90s in Boise, and that is that you could get a bib number to Roby Creek without remembering to get on at noon on President's Day.
Did you not get a bib number?
I did not get
You're
a
the
bib
mayor.
number. I haven't run a race since I hurt my knee 2 years ago. I think I'm a little nervous. I'm kind of scared, but I would like to try a race, and so I'm going to be looking for somebody. If I can pull off training, I'll be looking for somebody that doesn't want to use their bib number. Looking for somebody that doesn't want to use their bib number. If you already regret that you got a bib number, just call my office.
Maybe you don't try Roby right after knee surgery. Even 2 years.
I mean, it's
I don't
2
know.
years,
Yeah. Toughest half marathon in the West. It's funny. We talked about accents. This is, again, an aside. There's sort of a Northwest accent, and it comes across in pronunciation of days. So it's not Sunday, it's Sunday. Saturday.
Oh, I said that before I moved here, though, too.
Oh,
no,
really?
Maybe
it's northern New
There's
York.
an Idaho sound. There is. It's like a little, it's like something, words are dropped, the ends of words are dropped, and like it's almost like there's a little bit of like talking more in the back of your mouth. I'm not sure quite what it is, but you can pick it up, especially for folks that have grown up here outside of Boise. I do hear it.
Yeah. But
and I can't replicate it.
But you do replicate it all the time. You have that accent now. You finally got your accent. It's Idaho's accent. What new feature, sort of the growth of Boise, do you enjoy most?
Another thing that I miss about the 90s is you didn't have to have a reservation for dinner. You could just decide at the last minute that you want to go to dinner. Like now you have to have plans.
Even Big Bun, you got to plan ahead. Shout out to Big Bun.
What do I love now? I mean, things are changing as the city grows, but one of my favorite things is still that, like, despite the growth, we're still Boise.
Yeah.
Like, you still get the smile on the street. People still, like, trade places, as they're leaving parking lots, especially Shakespeare. And people say hi on the trails.
Yeah.
Like, there's that piece that feels still so approachable and small and tiny and connected that I think is really special. And then I do love how now it's not just downtown where there are things happening. There are so many neighborhoods around the city that have great spots for lunch and coffee and little local stores. And so it's we've retained that touch of Boise while we've welcomed more people. Yeah. And it's the energy is and the opportunity now is really exciting.
Yeah. And Boiseans are still
We're Boiseans.
Boiseans.
Yeah.
Absolutely. People generally, though, don't really like growth. And, when I worked in your office, people would ask all the time for you to just stop growth.
Stop it.
Somehow. Yeah. We're tired of it. we want to, close the door behind me because I moved here 5 years ago.
Or last week.
Yeah, or last week. I don't want any more growth. I'm appreciative that you let me in, but go ahead and stop that growth. What do you tell those folks?
Oh, you stumped me, Justin.
Besides maybe just like, bro, you got here a week ago. All right?
We say welcome.
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 Welcome to Boise.
We are
absolutely.
so glad you're here.
Yeah.
And we love this place so much.
Mm-hmm.
And over the course of our history, we've had these moments where we grow so much and we're so scared that we're going to lose what we love about Boise.
Mm-hmm.
We get through that moment, we still have that peace, and then we're fighting for what we got in that moment of growth when it happens again. It's tough. It's tough to think about. Even I think about where like my kids played soccer when they were little. That's just a whole bunch of malls now, and it's harder to get access to the things you want to get because there are more people trying to do the same. But the people that have chosen to call Boise home merged with the people that we're lucky enough to have parents and grandparents that called this place home, make Boise what it is, and we always come out on the other side with that touch of Boise that keeps this place so special and always worth fighting for.
Yeah. And it's still apparently attractive because people are still moving here. I'm certainly not a psychologist, but my theory is that all change is loss in some form. And so people are sort of grieving that Boise that they used to know, that we talked about. Do you agree with that, or I'm just sort of opining a little bit there?
No, I do. And the fear, like
there you go.
The grieving in advance for what you have now that you might not have later. I think that's really a real thing. I mean, in the same way, like with our kids, right? Like, I love how much they've changed and grown, but still really miss who they were. Yeah. And it's that happens in our neighborhoods. It happens on our blocks. It happens in our city. And at city council meetings when we're weighing decisions about where houses go and how we bring more amenities and parks and things to our neighborhoods, I actually love hearing people tell their why, whether they oppose something or support something, because what they're doing is talking about what they love at the end of the day about their neighborhood and their city. And I think it's pretty special.
Boise has a relatively new zoning code passed a couple years ago. What was the main mission of that?
The zoning code, first off, we worked on for 3 years with so many residents, thousands and thousands of people engaged, because the last time that Boise had updated its zoning code or created the laws around where we can live and how we live was like in the 60s. So a long time ago. And
Back when Boise was like 8,000 people or whatever, yeah.
Right. So our goal in that was creating the roadmap for, frankly, the free market to respond in building homes. Because we hear time and time again that we need to address housing affordability. A lot of that is, the number of homes that we have. We need more homes in Boise. I like to think about it in terms of, and I talked about this when I was running on Front Porches, the McLeans of Boise, the four of us, have one house right now. But if we're so lucky that our kids come back because there are job opportunities for them, then the McLeans of Boise eventually will need 3 houses.
Right.
So it's about making sure that our own kids have opportunity to come home and build lives here the way we did, and welcoming everybody else that calls Boise home too. And the zoning code, what it does is it creates that map for where we can bring people closer together, yes, along transit corridors, but the idea being that rather than having people drive through our neighborhoods to get to work in Boise, they're living in our neighborhoods with us and strengthening that connection that we all have to each other. But this is definitely a roadmap for the free market. For developers to respond and bring the homes that Boiseans need.
Now, you talked a little bit about people sort of living closer together. People have used the word infill, and critics say that translates to bulldozing existing older neighborhoods. It's maybe, a home on a little bit more property and replacing them with like expensive high-rise apartments. What's your response to that?
So infill is filling in the holes in a neighborhood. Yeah. So you've got an empty parking lot along Fairview that isn't even filled with cars these days. If there's a smart developer out there that wants to put a whole bunch of homes there, then you're creating places for Boiseans right on a major roadway and a bus line. And our goal is to create neighborhoods in this. So people always say that they love to visit Bound Crossing or they like to visit Hyde Park. Like, we want to make it possible to have those in your own neighborhoods. So you've got people scaled, I like to say people scale development, where people are living amongst each other. They're able to walk down to a coffee shop, jump on a pathway to a park within 10 minutes, maybe drop their kiddos off at school before they jump on the bus or into their car to head to work downtown or anywhere else they might be heading for work. And this creates complete, connected, vibrant neighborhoods as we start to fill out our own development patterns.
Talking about growth, the actual technical population of the city of Boise inside the city limits hasn't changed a whole lot, but the Boise metro, Ada County, into Canyon County, and all these other cities has, of course, exploded. There's all those other county commissioners, all the other mayors around the valley. They are all almost exclusively Republican. You're a Democrat, and yet you work with them, and you seem to get along just fine. You're working on these issues. To quote Hamilton, I wasn't aware that's a thing you could do. How do you do that?
Well, I'm not going to throw away my shot.
Nice.
So I have to do it, right? No, there's a lot of stuff we don't agree on.
Okay.
But then what you do, like we always do, I would say, is that you find what you do agree on, you figure out ways to work on those things together. The people of Boise said 5 years ago, we want elected officials in this region to work together. At that point, like the city and the highway district were like this.
Yeah, I remember
Meridian
those
and
days.
Boise were like this, right? And so they said, look, like, it's got to be different. Mm-hmm. And it's our job to work with the people that have been chosen by the people. And so in my mind, it's just that you have to. There are definitely things where I'm like, not so crazy about that. But we work on what we can because it's our job for the people of Boise. And then outside of the work, I've enjoyed getting to know different mayors and spend time with them. And we're all working well together. We have different things that we want to do in our own communities. But at the end of the day, we're one big Treasure Valley.
Yeah. And a lot of those smaller cities, Star, Kuna, they're sort of what Boise was a few decades ago.
Well, I was thinking about Meridian. I think Meridian is about the size now that Boise was in '98 when Scott and I moved here.
I think you're right, because I moved to Meridian in 1990. It was about 10,000, then 30,000. Turn of the millennium. And now it's, more than 100,000 people.
Robert, Mayor Simison was doing a presentation to the chamber last week. Gosh, that day that all the snow fell. And we were all driving to Meridian while the snow was falling.
Right, and you're like, nuts. Man, we need a train.
It was nuts. Yes, we need a train. That would have been fun. We could have had a little train car party. But I think he said the population's about 120,000 now. And it was when he was talking, though, that I was like, oh, that's what we were, Boise, when I moved here.
Yeah. So we can all continue to learn from each other. That's all the time we have for in part one here. Mayor returns in part two of this very special edition of This Just In, dropping on Friday here on This Just In, or
the Flash Info.
The Flash Info. See you next time.